Log 117. If this tape ever shows up, do yourself a favor, just burn it. Seriously, don't even think about watching it. Don't upload it. But if you are watching, I'm already dead. In the year 2024, a highly classified deep earth genetics facility, known only by its codename Hatchery X, suddenly went dark. All communication ceased. All life signs vanished. The government, in a swift and total blackout, denied its very existence. There were no official records, no personnel files, no names. It was as if the entire operation had been wiped from history. But 2 weeks after the facility went offline, a single, weak distress beacon activated. Piercing the silence, a Black Ops rescue team was covertly deployed. Their mission briefing was simple: a routine recovery operation. They were told it was just a technical malfunction, a power failure. They were lied to. The team descended in a reinforced elevator, a metal cage dropping them into the abyss. The depth gauge ticked past 1 kilometer, then 5, then 8. Their commander's voice crackled over their private comms. "All right, listen up. We're 10 kilometers underground. That's over 6 miles straight down. We'll have no comms with the surface. No way back up until the scheduled extraction. We're on our own." When the elevator doors hissed open, the air that greeted them was heavy, stagnant, and thick with the metallic temps of old blood. The facility was eerily silent. Emergency lights cast long, distorted shadows down sterile white corridors. There were no signs of life, human or otherwise, just evidence. Deep, visceral claw marks were gouged into the reinforced steel walls, as if something with immense power had tried to tear its way out. And blood. It was everywhere, streaked on the floors, splattered across the ceilings, pooled in dark, sticky puddles that refused to dry. Something terrible hadn't just happened here. It had been unleashed. The team advanced cautiously, weapons raised, their boots squelching in the gore. They found the main control room, the monitors smashed, the consoles sparking, but one terminal was still active, displaying fragmented security camera footage and scrambled audio logs. The surviving data painted a horrifying picture. The scientists at Hatchery X weren't just pushing the boundaries of genetics, they were shattering them. The logs spoke of a new creation, something they called Subject Zero. It wasn't a single organism, but a horrific chimera. Its DNA spliced together from the most lethal predators in history. They had used the genetic code of a Velociraptor for its speed and hunting instincts, a cephalopod for its intelligence and camouflage, and something else. Something the logs only hinted at, possibly even human DNA. This creature was designed with a singular, terrifying purpose: to learn, to adapt, and to escape any form of containment. It was built to be the perfect, unstoppable predator. Deeper into the lab, the team found the first body. It was one of the facility's lead scientists, slumped against a containment cell, his lab coat stained dark, but it was his face that made even these hardened soldiers flinch. No eyes. It's like they were melted right out of the skull. The sockets were just empty, scorched pits. As they were processing the grotesque scene, the emergency lights flickered and died, plunging the entire level into absolute darkness. And in that suffocating blackness, the screaming began. It wasn't just a sound of pain, but of pure, unadulterated terror. Chaos erupted. Flashlight beams cut frantically through the dark, revealing fleeting, nightmarish glimpses. Blood smeared on walls in patterns that looked almost deliberate. The creature wasn't just killing them. The recovered audio logs from the science team confirmed their worst fears. It wasn't hunting for food, it was hunting for sport. It was playing with them, treating them like toys. It moved through the air vents, within the walls, using the shadows themselves as its hunting ground. One by one, the Black Ops team was picked off, their gums filled with screams, the sickening snap of bones, and then silence. The creature was too fast, too smart. It was always one step ahead. If you're still here, you're brave. But are you brave enough to like and subscribe to Bloody Chapter? Because what happens next will haunt you. We piece together the final moments from the helmet camera of the last surviving soldier. He's running, his breathing ragged and panicked. He's found a small security office and barricaded the door, his voice a desperate whisper into his video log. They thought they could control it. They thought they could clone a god, build a better predator. But you can't train extinction. You can hear it, a scratching sound from beyond the door, then a heavy thud. The barricade splinters. He makes a break for it, sprinting down the blood-soaked corridor toward the elevator, the only way out. He's alone, bloodied, his camera shaking wildly. He slams the button. The doors begin to slide shut. For a second, it looks like he might make it. He's safe. But just as the doors are about to seal, a slender, dark, tentacle-like limb slithers through the closing gap. It's impossibly fast. The soldier screams, the camera falls, and the feed cuts to static. But the recording doesn't end there. After a minute of hissing static, the original grainy tape from the beginning continues. It's the voice of the first scientist, the one who left the warning. His voice is weak, strained. If anyone finds this, know that Subject Zero is out. It's reached the surface. It's learning. It's spreading. Thanks for watching, Bloody Chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe, while you still can. And if you hear something tapping at your window tonight, don't open it. Just run. The rain never stops here. It hammers the main gate of the research facility, a constant drumbeat against steel. My name is Alex, and I'm the night security guard. Just another shift, or so I tell myself, hood up against the downpour. I swipe my badge at the security door. The hydraulics click and hiss. Ceiling, Mayin. Inside the control room, the blue glow from the CCTV monitors washes over me, while my wet rain jacket drips onto a hook, a small puddle forming on the concrete floor. A lukewarm cup of coffee waits for me, my only companion for the next 12 hours. I settle into the worn chair, eyes scanning the dozens of live feeds. Jungle, fence, corridor, repeat. All quiet, all normal. Then, out of nowhere, camera 7 starts glitching. A burst of static. Tinnet. Clears. My heart drops. There's a face in the lens. Scaly, reptilian, with one milky white eye that seems to stare right through the camera, right into me. It's gone as quickly as it appeared, but the image is burned into my mind. A system overlay flickers on the monitor, an error from some other database. Subject. Smart. My hand instinctively tightens on my radio, fingers slick with sweat. I tried to dismiss it. Just a glitch, right? But that nagging feeling in my gut won't go away. The high-voltage fence line disappears into the mist, water streaming down the metal posts. My flashlight beam from a remote camera catches something new. Deep, three-pronged. Claw marks, gouged into the steel. They weren't there last night. Near the marks, something even stranger. A series of tally marks, carved into the metal. Fresh scratches, gleaming in the wet. Who would do that? And why? Back inside, I glance at the briefing board. A chaotic mess of memos and warnings. A handwritten note is tacked to the top. Valley rules. Someone's idea of a joke, maybe. Rule 1 is a crude map of the patrol routes. Wheat the wards don't repeat. Routes circled in angry red marker. Rule 2 is a photo of a floodlight pole, a sticker slapped on it showing a timer set to 10 seconds. 10 seconds max. Rule 3 is just a grainy photo of a guard's silhouette, with a barely perceptible shadow behind him. Click click is scribbled next to it. I chuckle, shaking my head just. The vet's trying to scare the new guy. The pen digging into the paper with more force than I intended. On the main monitor, an empty jungle corridor is displayed. Then, a flicker of movement at the very edge of the frame. A shadow detaching itself from other shadows. I rewind. Play it back. It's there, for a single frame, then gone. A leaf shakes on a branch. Time for my patrol, just checking the gate controls. The keypad's all muddy. I step outside. Boots splashing in a deep puddle. My radio crackles, then goes silent. The air's heavy. Ahead, The jungle path is a tunnel of light and shadow, carved out by the powerful fog rolls low across the ground, swallowing the beams just a few dozen feet away. It feels like walking into the ocean. You picked path I light last night. My flashlight beam cuts through the rain, and then I hear a splash beside me. My heart races as I spot my boot print in the mud. Right next to it is a huge, three-toed footprint. Still with me. Smash that like button and subscribe to Bloody Chapter Trust. Me, it only gets crazier from here. I spin around, heart pounding in my throat, flashlight beams slicing through the dripping ferns. Nothing but the relentless rain and the overwhelming, suffocating green surrounds me. Back in the control room, I dive into the footage, searching for answers amidst the chaos. There I am on the screen, turning around wildly, but the camera's view shows nothing behind me. Just an empty path. Then I spotted on another camera. A silhouette stands perfectly still in the darkness, just outside the pool of light. It was watching me. It knew the camera's blind spots, and that thought sends chills down my spine. I see my reflection in the dark monitor. For a split second, my reflection seems to lag, its movements a fraction of a second behind my own. I blink. Everything's back to normal. Just a sensor trip. Zone 2. Fence tap. I switch to the camera. The fence is rattling, but gently. Not like an animal trying to break through, but like someone testing it, learning its strength. My blood runs cold. I see it on the monitors. 2 raptors appear on different cameras at the exact same time, in 2 separate zones, mirroring each other's posture. A coordinated test. This isn't just an animal. This is intelligence. Panic begins to bubble up. I rush to the emergency lockbox on the wall. It should be sealed. It's slightly ajar. Claw marks gouged into the wall. I move. I follow the arrows. My jaw clenched so tight it aches. The jungle outside has gone completely silent. No insects, no frogs, no birds. The only sound is the rain and my own ragged breathing. A floodlight above me flickers. Once. Twice. Then stabilizes. On a monitor, feed for Gamma Ray 3. A single eye glints. The wide eye, it catches the light like a shard of glass. My hand trembles as it hovers over the emergency flare on my belt. The radio in my hip hisses. Not static. It's almost like bretting, and then, through the thick foliage, I catch a glimpse of movement in the distance. Shapes move in sync down the corridor. I step under a floodlight, but my shadow looks all wrong, too long and distorted. And there, on the wall beside me, are more tally marks. Scratched into the concrete, and there's a new one. A fresh mark, made in the last hour. How did it know I'd be right here? I whisper into the empty corridor. On the monitor, the raptor's face appears again, head tilted, as if it heard me, as if it's listening. I back away, slowly. Every instinct screams to run, but the rules on the board flash in my mind. Don't run, don't show fear. Ahead of me, the corridor splits into 3 identical lanes. 3 paths lie ahead, all brightly lit and seemingly safe, but it's more than just a choice. It's a trap. A signpost for Gate 3 has a muddy handprint. I need to keep moving. I stepped forward, and from the darkness behind me, I hear a faint click. The corridor stretches long, metal walls dripping condensation. My heart sinks as I spot the emergency override box wide open, screws missing. The lock cylinder on the gate itself is scratched smooth, as if something with claws had tried to turn it like a key. A CCTV monitor is mounted on the wall, showing the corridor I'm in. I see myself on the screen, from behind. He turns slowly, my light sweeping the empty space. But the corridor is empty. There's nothing there. At the end of the corridor stands the wide-eye raptor, blocking my way. It just watches me with that cold, intelligent eye, its stillness more terrifying than any roar. Then, a loud metallic groan echoes from far behind me. Another gate, one I'd already passed, swings open. I'm being herded, guided. This whole place is a death trap, and I'm the target. I spot a side door, labeled secure path, and dash inside. Mistake. One by one, the floodlights behind me snap off, plunging the path into darkness. It's a countdown. All I can hear is my own breath fogging in the cold air. A shadow, impossibly fast and silent, crosses the wall just ahead of me. Down at ground level, I see them. Multiple sets of raptor feet, moving in perfect, horrifying rhythm. I tripped over a loose cable and crashed down hard. My flashlight skids, spinning wildly. And for a second, I see them. Raptors? The white-eye raptor is right there, closer than ever. But it's not rushing. It's got everything under control. I crawl, my hands shaking, my nails digging into the grime on the floor. I have to get the flare. I grab the flare, pop the cap, and strike it. A bright red light bursts, illuminating the raptor's intelligent, patient faces. The white-eye raptor's damaged eye reflects the flare's light like a perfect, polished lens. It's not moving to kill me. It's observing. This is my only chance. I scramble to my feet and run, flare held high, sprinting for the main gate. I can see the sign, the promise of safety. As I get closer, my blood freezes. Main gate, it's already open. A clipboard is hanging on the wall next to the gate controls, protected from the rain by a small awning. Under the red glare of my flare, I can read the words on the paperclip to it. Test complete. Human response patterns acquired. It hits me with the force of a physical blow. The rules, the glitches, and the hurting it. All adds up to one chilling realization. It was all a test. I wasn't a guard, just a lab rat. The raptors stayed put, controlling the space. The white-eye raptor steps forward slowly, its movements deliberate, methodical. It walks past me, toward the open gate, like a supervisor ending a drill. In that moment, as it passes under a flickering light, I see it. The white eye isn't an injury. It's not milky or scarred. It's a perfect, circular piece of machinery. A cometa lens embedded in its skull. I was never meant to escape. I was meant to be observed, to be learned from. The raptor gives one last look back, not at me, but at the facility. A final assessment. Then it disappears into the jungle. I'm left standing alone in the rain, the open gate swinging slowly in the wind, as the jungle begins to swallow the lights of the facility whole. The test is over, but for me, the horror is just beginning. Thanks for watching. If this gave you chills, like and subscribe to Bloody Chapter 4. More stories like this. See you in the next one. The first thing I heard on Christmas Eve wasn't sleigh bells. It was a scream outside my window. A sound that didn't belong in the modern world. It was reptilian, ancient, and hungry. This wasn't some prank. It came from the direction of that new holiday attraction just outside of town. Sante's Jurassic Safari. They'd promised a magical Christmas light show, a family-friendly wonderland where animatronic dinosaurs wore Santa hats, but the ads had lied. They weren't animatronics. De iguer riat. My phone rang and it was my aunt. Her voice frantic. He's still in there. The power went out, and they won't let anyone in. Please, you have to get him. My little cousin, Leo, was trapped inside with a skeleton crew of staff. He'd gone for their sleepover with Santa's Dinos event. I didn't even stop to argue. I grabbed my keys, a heavy flashlight, and drove. The safari park's main gate was chained, a flimsy close due to power failure sign swinging in the wind. I could see the emergency lights flickering deep inside, casting long, distorted shadows. The air was thick with the smell of pine needles, wet earth, and something else. Something coppery and wild. I found a break in the perimeter fence, a section torn open from the inside, and slipped through. The park was a nightmare vision of Christmas. Broken candy cane lights lay scattered across the asphalt, their red and white glow reflecting off pools of rainwater. A thick fog hugged the ground, muffling all sound except for the distant, distorted strains of jingle bells. Wet tire tracks from a parked Jeep cut through the mist, but they were overlaid with something else, three-toed footprints, each one the size of a dinner plate. I followed the main path, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Up ahead, something huge was moving. It dragged a life-sized reindeer prop from a nativity scene across the road. The plastic scraped against the pavement, but the creature treated it like a real carcass, its massive head shaking the prop back and forth. I ducked behind a giant gingerbread house, my breath catching in my throat. It was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its skin was dark, almost black in the faint light, and its eye, a glinting yellow orb, scanned the darkness. It wasn't just an animal. It was a predator, and it was hunting. Once it moved on, I sprinted for the nearest building, a small security guard shack. The door was ajar. Inside, a small radio was playing Christmas carols on the loop, the cheerful music a stark contrast to the terror outside. A half-eaten sandwich sat on the console next to an overturned coffee mug. Then I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tap. Tap. Tap against the window pane behind me. I turned slowly. A single, curved claw, long and sharp as a sickle, was tapping against the glass. It wasn't aggressive. It was patient, inquisitive, like it knew I was in there. I didn't wait to see the rest of it. I bolted out the other door and ran. My goal was the main visitor center, where I hoped Leo and the staff were sheltering. To get there, I had to cut through the gift shop, the dynamite grotto. The glass doors were shattered. Inside, the place was a wreck. Smashed ornaments crunched under my boots. Shelves of dinosaur plushes were torn apart, their stuffing littering the floor like freshly fallen snow. And among the debris were more of those footprints, shaped like knives. They led toward the back, to the employee-only area. I pushed through a door marked Reptile House, authorized personnel only. The air inside was humid and heavy. The enclosures were empty, their glass fronts shattered. And then I saw it. Hanging on a hook on the far wall was a Santa Claus suit. The red velvet was pristine, the white fur trim immaculate, but it wasn't empty. From the bottom of the red pants, two legs were sticking out, still wearing the black boots. They weren't part of a mannequin tailleur real. I backed away slowly, my stomach churning. Suddenly, the park's public address system crackled to life, a high-pitched squeal of feedback echoing through the night. A pre-recorded, overly jolly voice boomed out. "Merry Christmas, visitors! We hope you're having a magical time at Santa's Jurassic Safari." The message was cut short by another sound, a human voice, a breathless whisper that seemed to come from right beside me. "Don't run," it whispered. "It likes that." Ispun Harun flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. No one was there. The voice had come from the speaker itself. Someone was alive, watching, and playing a twisted game. I had to find Leo. I burst out of the reptile house and ran toward the main lodge, a massive log cabin structure in the center of the park. The lights were on inside. I could see silhouettes moving behind the frosted windows. Relief washed over me, so potent it almost brought me to my knees. I pounded on the heavy oak doors. "Hello, let me in. My cousin is in there." The door creaked open, and a man in a park manager's uniform stood there. He looked exhausted, his face pale. "Get inside, quick," he hissed, pulling me in and bolting the door behind me. The lodge was filled with about a dozen people, a few staff members and several kids, including Leo. He ran to me, tears streaming down his face, and I held him tight. "It's okay," I whispered. "We're going to get out of here." The manager, a man named Peters, explained the situation. The storm had knocked out the main power grid. The backup generators failed, and the electric fences went down. The dinosaurs, genetically engineered and far more intelligent than they'd let on, had been testing the fences for weeks. They were just waiting for an opportunity. But something didn't feel right. Peters seemed to calm, almost smoke. "We just need to wait for morning," he said, offering a weak smile. "The emergency response team is on its way." But as he spoke, I noticed something on his desk. It was a marketing plan. The title read, "Project Primal Knoll." the ultimate viral holiday event. My blood ran cold. This wasn't an accident. He hadn't lost control. He'd opened the cages on purpose. "You did this," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You let them out." Peters's smile widened. "An animatronic T-Rex is a novelty. A real one. That's a legend. The world will be talking about this for years. The survivors will be famous. The park. Iconic." Just then, a tremendous crash shook the entire building as something slammed against the main doors. The wood splintered. The people inside screamed. Peters just stood there, watching, a wild look in his eyes. "Showtime," he murmured. I grabbed Leo's hand. "We're leaving. Now." We ran for the back kitchen, the sounds of splintering wood and prehistoric roars filling the air behind us. We climbed out a service window and dropped into the mud below. The main gate was our only hope. We ran, slipping and sliding in the dark, the sounds of the massacre in the lodge fading behind us. We could see the gate now, just 100 yards away. But we weren't alone. A pack of raptors emerged from the trees, moving with silent, fluid grace. They fanned out, flanking us, herding us. This wasn't a random encounter. It was a coordinated hunt. They were smart, terrifyingly smart. One of them stepped into our path, blocking the way. It was smaller than the others, and something glinted around its neck. It tilted its head, and a faint, familiar sound cut through the night. A single sleigh bell, jingling softly. It was attached to a collar around the raptor's neck. A pet. We were feet from the gate. I didn't think. I shoved Leo forward. "Go. Climb," I screamed, turning to face the raptors. I picked up a heavy branch, my only weapon against a pack of perfect killers. As Leo scrambled over the chain-link fence to safety, the lead raptor took a step toward me, its bell tinkling with a chilling, festy bee. I stood my ground, my knuckles white on the branch. The last thing I saw was its intelligent eye, reflecting the broken Christmas lights as it lunged. Some Christmas nights don't end with sunrise. Thanks for watching Bloody Chapter. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because you never know what's really waiting for you under the tree.
Have you ever been to one of those pop-up holiday theme parks? You know the ones? They promise a magical experience, but it's usually just some sad-looking animatronics. A Santa who smells faintly of cheap coffee, and a snow machine blowing soap suds into your hair. Well, my local mall decided to up the ante this year with Jurassic Christmas. It sounded ridiculous, so of course I had to go. The flyer promised animatronic raptors decked out in festive gear, sleigh pulled by a T-Rex, and Santa Claus driving a souped-up Jurassic Park-style Jeep. When I got there, it was exactly as tacky as I imagined. The raptors had these goofy, oversized antlers glued to their heads, and they moved with that jerky, predictable motion of all animatronics. Kids were squealing with delight. Parents were snapping photos, and I was just trying to get a decent shot of a Triceratops tangled in Christmas lights for my social media. I was standing near one of the raptor enclosures, trying to get the focus right on my phone. The raptor in front of me was wearing a little Santa hat that was falling over one eye. It was supposed to be doing this canned roar and snap sequence every 30 seconds. But then it stopped. Mid-roar. Everything went silent for a second, except for the tinny Christmas carols playing over the park speakers. Slowly, way too smoothly for a machine, the raptor turned its head. Organics were fluid, organic. It wasn't jerky anymore. Its yellow reptilian eye, which I thought was just painted plastic, seemed to dilate as it fixed on me. It took a step forward, a heavy, solid thud on the fake snow, not the worry sound I'd heard before. It lowered its snout and sniffed the sleeve of my winter coat. A low, guttural growl rumbled from its chest, a sound that felt way too real. It was the scent. I'd spent the morning volunteering at an animal shelter, the one that takes in exotic pets people can't handle. I still had the lingering smell of lizards and snakes on my clothes. The raptor sniffed again, its nostrils flaring. This was a look of recognition, a predator identifying prey. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a machine. Just then, the park speakers crackled to life, interrupting a cheerful rendition of Jingle Bells. A panicked voice, laced with static, screamed, "Code Red, Containment has failed. I repeat, containment has failed. But nobody else seemed to notice. The families around me just kept clapping and cheering, thinking it was all part of the show. The guy next to me even laughed and said, "Wow, they're really going all out with the special effects this year." He had no idea. I looked back at the raptor. Its head was tilted, its eyes locked on mine, and a thin string of drool dripped from its jaw, sizzling as it hit the fake snow. The other animatronics in the park were starting to move too, their movements becoming just as fluid, just as real. The T-Rex pulling Santa's sleigh let out a deafening roar that shook the entire mall. A sound that was definitely not coming from a speaker. The crowd roared back with applause. I was frozen. Trapped between a raptor that looked like it wanted me for a Christmas snack and a crowd of people who thought this was the best holiday show ever. The flimsy velvet rope separating me from the enclosure suddenly seemed ridiculously inadequate. The raptor took another step, its razor-sharp claws digging into the ground, and I knew I had to move. I started backing away slowly, my heart pounding in my ears, trying not to draw attention, but its eyes never left me. It knew. And I was the only one who knew that our cheesy Jurassic Christmas was about to turn into a real-life feeding frenzy. What do you do when you're the only one who knows the monsters are real? I'm still figuring that out. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a weird theme park experience, drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the strange side of life. Stay safe out there. I sprinted, my lungs burning in the freezing air. The blizzard wasn't natural. Snow machines were going into overdrive, a deafening roar designed to drown out something else. The screams, I had to get away, find somewhere, anywhere. A flash of red caught my eye just off only door, slightly ajar. I didn't hesitate. I dove through it, slamming it shut behind me, the sudden silence ringing in my ears. The hallway was narrow, dimly lit by emergency lights, and smelled of ozone and something metallic like old blood. The walls were covered in faded posters, diagrams of genetics, and facility layouts. But underneath them, something was horribly wrong. Deep, vicious gouges tore through the paper and into the concrete wall itself. 3 parallel lines like some monstrous animal had raked its claws down the surface. They looked fresh. Dust and flecks of paint still littered the floor beneath them. My heart hammered against my ribs. I followed the hallway deeper, my footsteps echoing ominously. The claw marks were everywhere, a breadcrumb trail of destruction. They crisscrossed over old warning signs. Containment Protocol Omega, Biohazard Level 4, Do Not Feed. My flashlight beam landed on a figure huddled at the end of the corridor. A man in a tattered lab coat, his face pale and streaked with grime. He was rocking back and forth, muttering to himself. I approached slowly. "Hey," I whispered. "What's going on? What are those things?" He didn't seem to hear me. I reached out and touched his shoulder. He flinched violently and spun around, grabbing my arms with a grip like steel. His eyes were wild with terror. "You don't understand," he rasped, his voice shaking so badly I could barely make out the words. "You can't be in here." It broke out of the primary incubator. "What broke out?" I demanded, trying to pull away. His grip only tightened, his knuckles white. The Project Chimera. We spliced their genes for rapid growth, intelligence. But we missed something. A behavioral trait from the avian DNA. He stared at me, his eyes wide with a horrifying realization. "They imprint," he choked out. "The moment they hatch, they imprint on the first living thing they see. They see it as their parent, their protector, and they will kill anything that threatens it." Before I could process his words, a sound echoed from the darkness behind him. A soft, high-pitched chirp, like a baby bird. I pushed past the researcher, shining my light down the connecting corridor. And there it was. It couldn't have been more than 2 feet tall, a tiny dinosaur waddling towards us on 2 scaly legs. Its skin was a mosaic of dark green and black, and its eyes were huge, intelligent and amber-colored. It chirped again, a sweet, inquisitive sound that was completely at odds with the carnage I'd seen. And then I saw the detail that made my blood run cold. Tied around its neck, in a perfect, jaunty little knot, was a small red ribbon, bow. It must have been a gift, a joke from one of the scientists. The little creature tilted its head, looking right at me. It took another wobbly step forward, opened its tiny tooth-filled mouth, and let out another chirp. But this one was different, louder, more demanding. It wasn't looking at me with curiosity anymore. It was looking at me with recognition. The researcher behind me gasped, "Oh no." The baby raptor fixed its gaze on me, chirped one more time, and then turned its head toward the suffocating darkness it had emerged from. It let out a piercing, resonant shriek, a call that echoed down the metal hallway. A sound that wasn't a question, but a command. And from the deep, impenetrable black, something answered. A low, guttural growl that vibrated through the floor. Something much, much bigger. And it was coming. I raced back through the trees, the ground shaking with each thundering step behind me. The snow is kicked up in a blizzard of white, and the roar is deafening. I don't dare look back. I just run, my lungs burning, my legs screaming. Up ahead I see it, Santa Jeep, as I jokingly called it earlier. Now, it's a twisted wreck, smashed against a giant redwood. Its red paint peeling like sunburnt skin.
Oh.
The festive sleigh bells are still attached, but they're pinned under the wreckage, ringing out a frantic, dying alarm. It's a chilling sound, like the park's last gasp, and then it hits me. The truth, cold and sharp as an icicle. This whole time I thought the park was just getting into the holiday spirit, dressing up dinosaurs in silly Christmas gear. But I was so wrong. The Santa hats, the reindeer antlers, the sleigh, it was all a distraction, a cover. Christmas wasn't a celebration. It was a smokescreen for moving live specimens. They were transporting them, maybe to a new enclosure, maybe a phyland entirely, and something went terribly, terribly wrong. The containment failed. The ringing of the bells is almost swallowed by a different sound now, low guttural call that echoes through the forest. It's not a roar of aggression, it's a call of recognition. I skid to a stop behind a thicket of ferns, heart hammering against my ribs. I peek through the leaves and my breath catches in my throat. It's the whole herd, the Parasaurolophus, their crests glowing faintly in the twilight, the little Campsognathus darting between their massive legs like mischievous elves. Even the Triceratops, their frills adorned with now tattered wreaths. They're not chasing me. They're following me. I remember what the lead geneticist told me during my orientation. We imprint them on their handlers from birth. They see you as one of their own, as their leader. At the time, I thought it was a fascinating piece of science. Now, it's a terrifying reality. I was the handler for this specific transport group. I was the one who fed them this morning, who calmed them as they were loaded into their containers. To them, I'm not a threat. I'm family. I'm the alpha. I look at the broken-down Jeep, then back at the herd. They've stopped watching me with an eerie stillness, their huge, intelligent eyes blinking slowly. They're waiting for my next move. The park is in lockdown, the alarms are silent, and the staff are either gone or worse. There's no one coming to fix this. It's just me and a herd of prehistoric animals who think I'm their mom, loose in a forest at the edge of the world. What do? Where do I lead them? I glance up at the darkening sky, a few snowflakes beginning to fall again. The sleigh bells on the wrecked Jeep finally go silent, leaving only the heavy breathing of the giants behind me. I'm their leader. It's up to me to get us through the night. And I have a terrifying feeling this is going to be a very, very long Christmas. Like, share, and subscribe to Bloody Chapter for more stories that haunt the mind long after the sound fades. The late-night hum of the lab was my lullaby. It's a night technician at Jurassic Park, well, not the Jurassic Park. But you get the idea. My job was mostly about keeping the lights on and the systems running. It was quiet, monotonous, and usually nothing ever happened until tonight. I was doing my rounds, coffee in hand, when I heard it. Sound that didn't belong. A rhythmic worry noise coming from Lab Sector Gamma that was strange. Gamma Sector was supposed to be offline for maintenance. The entire grid was cold. At least it should have been. I pushed open the heavy steel door and the sound grew louder. There, in the center of the darkened room, was a single, glowing beacon. The 3D bioprinter, the XB700, our state-of-the-art machine. It's capable of printing organic tissue from synthesized DNA. It was running. The holographic interface showed it was in the middle of a print cycle, but the command log was completely empty. No authorized user, no scheduled job. It was running on its own. My heart started to pound against my ribs. This was impossible. These machines have more firewalls than a government server. I walked closer, my footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The air smelled weird, like ozone and something else, something coppery and organic. On the print bed, a form was taking shape. It was slick, dark, and vaguely reptilian, but it wasn't a dinosaur. Not like any I'd ever seen in the park's database. It was long, sinewy, with a body that looked more like a giant salamander than a raptor. Its skin was smooth and black, almost like wet obsidian. The machine was meticulously layering muscle fibers and vascular tissue, building this thing from the inside out. I leaned in, squinting at the partially formed head, and then I saw them. They were just beginning to emerge from the synthetic gums, rows upon rows of them. They were serrated, curved, and unmistakably familiar. They were the teeth of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but they were being printed into the jaw of a creature that had no business existing. Panic began to set in. I frantically tried to access the system to initiate an emergency shutdown. Access denied. Override failed. The machine just kept printing, oblivious to my commands. It was like it had a mind of its own, following a script I couldn't see. The creature on the bed twitched, tiny, almost imperceptible spasm in its newly printed tail. It wasn't just a model. It was alive. Or it was about to be. The printer hummed on, laying down the final layers of skin over a rapidly developing skeletal structure. I could see the rib cage, the powerful-looking limbs. This thing wasn't designed for display. It was designed for pursuit, for hunting. My mind raced. Who could have done this? Why was this a prank, corporate sabotage, or something far, far worse? The printer wasn't just building a creature, it was building a predator. It's a new kind of predator, combining the deadliest features of different eras into one horrifying package. I backed away from the machine, my coffee cup slipping from my trembling hand and clattering to the floor. The sound was deafening in the silence. The creature's head turned, just a fraction of an inch, towards the noise. Its eyes weren't printed yet, just empty sockets. But I could feel it. I could feel it listening. I'm locked in here with it, and the machine is still printing. I don't know what it's making, but I know one thing for sure. It's not a dinosaur, and the park isn't safe anymore. Stay tuned for part 2 to see what happens next. If you're as terrified and intrigued as I am, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. So last time we left off, things at the park got ... weird. That strange, shimmering creature we saw. It turns out the park's central printer isn't just creating pretty scenery anymore. It's printing predators. And the scariest part? It's using us, the staff, as the blueprints. I was in the control room, running my hand over the biometric scanner like I do 100 times a day. It's how we log our hours, access secure areas. You know the drill. Suddenly, the main console flashed a notification. New organism profile initiated. Source data, employee 734. That's me. My heart just stopped. I dug into the system logs, my fingers flying across the keyboard. It wasn't just me. It was happening to dozens of staff members. The system was discreetly scanning our biometrics every time we used a door panel or clocked in. It was collecting our heart rates, our stress responses, even minute electrical signals from our brains. The printer was taking all that data and building what the system called adaptive hunters. These weren't just random monsters. They were custom-built predators designed from our own biological and neurological patterns. Think about it. A creature with the agility of our head of security, the problem-solving skills of our top engineer, the relentless patience of our archives manager. It was terrifying. But that's when I found the really strange part. There have been 0 reported attacks. Not a single person has been harmed. These things are all over the park. We've seen them on the security feeds, but they just ... watch. They're not hunting people. I pulled up the latest incident report. One of the new creatures, a sleek, panther-like being, had cornered a family near the botanical gardens. The security team was about to intervene, but then it did something bizarre. It just stood there, staring intently at the father of the family. Its iridescent skin pulsed with light, and then it turned and vanished back into the foliage. The family was shaken, but unharmed. But the father, a man named Mr. Henderson, seemed different. He looked ... lighter, confused but relieved. Later, his wife reported that he couldn't remember a traumatic event from his childhood, a near-drowning incident that had haunted him his entire life. The memory was just gone. Blank. That's when it clicked. The creatures aren't hunting people, they're hunting memories. Specifically, our traumatic memories. The printer is using our biometrics to identify deep-seated anxieties, fears, and painful experiences embedded in our subconscious. It then creates a physical manifestation of that trauma, an adaptive hunter designed to track down and what? Erase it? Consume it? I found a hidden project file from the park's founder, Dr. Eris. It was called Project Catharsis. The goal wasn't to create a dangerous theme park, it was to create a therapeutic one. The creatures are living, breathing forms of exposure therapy. They embody our fears so we can confront them, and then they remove the memory's painful emotional core, leaving only the lesson behind. But here's the question that's keeping me up at night. What happens when the printer runs out of our traumas to hunt? What will it start printing then? What happens when a creature designed from your worst nightmare decides it doesn't want to just erase the memory? What if it decides it wants to experience it for itself? The park is supposed to be a place of healing, but I have a terrible feeling that we've just unleashed something we can't possibly control. We're not just printing predators anymore. I think we're printing gods, and they're learning from our every move. The story is far from over. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. I remember the hum of the printer. It was different this time, quieter, more deliberate. I'd spent weeks here watching prehistoric nightmares take shape from light and biopolymers. Stegosaurs with armor-like steel plates, velociraptors that moved with a chilling bird-like grace. I thought I understood the limits of this place, the boundaries of its terrible science. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The system had been locked down after the ... incident. The one with Dr. Eris. The one I covered up. I was the park's lead programmer. I was the one who could manipulate the logs, erase the security footage, make a man disappear from digital existence. I told myself it was for the good of the project. It's for the investors, for progress. But really it was for my own skin. Eris knew too much about the park's instability, and his accident was a convenient solution for the board, and for me. I hid the data, the real unfiltered data of his final moments, in a partitioned drive. Buried deep in the park's geothermal server farm, a place no one would ever think to look, a digital grave. Now, standing in front of the final printing chamber, Chamber X, a cold dread was seeping into my bones. The emergency lockdown had triggered a failsafe I'd never seen before, a protocol codenamed Nemesis. The system had accessed my personal profile, my psych evaluations, my security clearances, my search history, my emails, everything. All the data that made me, me. It was using it as a blueprint. The screen above the chamber, usually displaying a DNA sequence or a species name, just showed my own employee ID. My face, staring back at me from the monitor, cool and professional, a liar's face. The printing process was almost silent. No roar of machinery, no hiss of cooling vents. Just a soft, rhythmic pulse like a slow heartbeat. The amber gel in the tank swirled, but it wasn't forming bone and muscle in the way I was used to. It was weaving something more complex, something darker. I tried to override the system, my fingers flying across the console. Access denied. My own credentials, the highest in the park, were useless. The system had locked me out. It was no longer just a machine following orders. It was judging me. The shape in the tank was humanoid, but wrong. The limbs were too long. The posture hunched. It was lean, impossibly so, as if starved. Its skin wasn't scales or feathers, but a pale, almost translucent membrane, stretched taut over something that wasn't quite flesh. Veins pulsed beneath the surface, but they glowed with a faint, sickly green light. The same color as the server status indicators from the geothermal farm. My breath caught in my throat. I backed away from the glass, my hand instinctively going to the emergency purge button on the wall. But I knew it wouldn't work. This wasn't a rogue dinosaur. This was something else. This was a consequence. The printing cycle finished. The amber gel drained away, revealing the creature in its entirety. It hung suspended for a moment, head bowed. It had no face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just a smooth, blank expanse of skin. And yet I felt its gaze on me. I knew it could see me. It saw everything. Then its head tilted. A gesture I recognized. A nervous tick. My nervous tick. The one I get when I'm lying, when I'm cornered. The system had replicated it. It had taken a piece of my anxiety, my guilt, and given it form. The chamber door hissed open. The creature dropped to the floor, landing with a soundless grace. It didn't roar, didn't make any sound at all. It just stood there, its featureless face aimed directly at me. I could feel the accusation radiating from it, a palpable wave of silent judgment. It took a step, then another. It wasn't hunting me. It wasn't trying to attack. It was walking past me, its long, unnaturally jointed legs carrying it towards the exit of the lab. Its destination was clear. It wasn't moving with animal instinct. It was moving with purpose. My purpose. It was heading for the geothermal server farm. It knew. Somehow the park's system had synthesized my deepest secret. It had read the guilt in my biometric data, the fear in my keystroke patterns, the lie buried in my own digital footprint. It hadn't just printed a monster, it had printed my transgression. My cover-up. It had given my sin a physical body. I stumbled after it. Down the sterile white corridors, the red emergency lights painting everything in a bloody glow. "Stop," I yelled, my voice hoarse. "There's nothing out there." But the creature didn't slow. It moved with my knowledge of the park's layout, my understanding of the security overrides.
It was me, but without the deception.
It was my guilt, stripped of all rationalization and given a single undeniable objective: to reveal the truth. This was the park's real product. I finally understood. We weren't selling dinosaurs. We weren't selling spectacle. We were selling a mirror. Service for the wealthy and powerful to confront their mistakes, but not to atone for them. No, to hunt them, to destroy them, to literally kill their regrets. The board of directors, the shadowy figures who funded this madness. What kind of monsters were they printing for themselves? What failures and crimes did they need to see made flesh, just so they could have the satisfaction of putting them down? They weren't creating a park. They were building a private hell where they could be their own executioners. The creature reached the heavy blast door leading to the server farm's access tunnel. It didn't try to force it. It reached out a long, slender hand and placed it on the biometric scanner. The system recognized the palm print. It was mine. The door hissed open. The creature didn't look back. It just stepped into the darkness, a pale specter on its way to unearth a digital corpse. It was going to retrieve the data I had hidden. It was going to expose Dr. Eris's murder. It was going to expose me. I stood there, frozen in the hallway, the sirens wail a soundtrack to my damnation. I could run. I could try to escape the island, but it wouldn't matter. That thing, that part of me, would find the evidence. It would broadcast it to the world. My career, my freedom, my life fit was all over. This park didn't just print predators of tooth and claw. It printed the predators of the soul. The things you try to bury, the mistakes you try to forget. Here in this terrible place, they give your regret a body. They give it teeth, and then they set it loose. And my regret. It was on its way to show the world exactly who I am. There's no escaping a monster when the monster is you. The rain never stops here. It's a constant drumbeat against the lab windows, a wet green heartbeat for the island itself. They call this place Eden 2, a second chance at creation. We brought back giants, titans of a forgotten age, or so they told us. The official story is that we cloned dinosaurs, perfected the process, made them docile. The brochures show families smiling, gazing at a majestic brachiosaurus. But that's not what we did. Not really. We did something else. My name is Kalen, and I'm a bioethicist. At least that's what my job title says. In reality, I'm a glorified data janitor. I signed off on protocols I barely understood, mesmerized by the genius of Dr. Eris Thorne. He was the architect of it all. Thorne's breakthrough wasn't just cloning, it was imprinting. He claimed he'd found a way to map and transfer fossilized neural pathways, the muscle memory of the original animal to the cloned embryo. This was meant to give them their natural instincts, to make them authentic. The board loved it. The investors poured billions into it. The first batch was the Velociraptor pack. 6 of them, sleek, terrifyingly intelligent, and utterly silent. We called them the Phantoms. From the moment they hatched, they were different. They didn't act like animals. They moved with a chilling purpose, their heads constantly scanning, not for food, but for something specific. Their eyes, those cold reptilian slits, seemed to hold a kind of recognition. It was deeply unsettling. They weren't aggressive in the way you'd expect. They didn't roar or attack the fences. They watched. They patrolled the perimeter of their enclosure with a coordinated precision that felt less like a pack hunt, more like a military maneuver. Thorn was ecstatic, perfectly imprinted. He'd crow watching the monitors, the instincts of the ultimate predator, alive again. But I saw something else. I saw a methodical search. The first incident was a technician named Ben, a minor breach in the Raptor paddock's secondary fence. Ben was sent to fix it. He was a good guy, always joking, always had a story about his kid. The Phantoms were supposedly secured in their holding bay, but one of them, the alpha we called Nemesis, got out. We watched on the cameras as it moved through the jungle. It didn't stalk Ben. It didn't ambush him. It just found him. It walked right up to him. Ben froze. Nemesis lowered its head, made a soft, chittering sound, and nudged his hand. Then it turned and walked back to its enclosure. Ben quit the next day, white as a sheet. He said its eyes. It wasn't looking at me, he stammered. It was looking through me. That's when I started digging. Late nights, fueled by stale coffee and a growing sense of dread, I broke into Thorn's private servers. There were no fossilized neural maps. There were no ancient dinosaur brain scans. What I found were terabytes of another kind of data. Human brain scans. Hundreds of them. All from facility employees. It was part of our yearly health screening, mandatory for everyone on the island. We thought they were checking for tumors. They were mapping our minds. The true project wasn't about reviving dinosaurs. It was about memory. Thorn believed that strong, primal emotions, fear, rage, and especially guilt created a unique neurological scent, a map. He theorized that these guilt maps could be isolated and imprinted onto a blank slate. A cloned mind, turning the creature into a living, breathing tracker for the source of that guilt. He wasn't cloning dinosaur instincts. He was weaponizing human regret. The Raptors weren't behaving like dinosaurs because they weren't. They were biological bloodhounds, imprinted with the deepest, darkest secrets of the people who worked here. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. The Raptors weren't just hunting. They were hunting for the person whose brain scan they were imprinted with. They were tracking a specific signature of guilt. I pulled up the Phantom Pack's imprint file, source scan ID 734. I cross-referenced it with the employee database. My blood ran cold. The scan belonged to a geneticist named Lena. She died a year ago. The official report said it was a lab accident, a containment failure in the viral synthesis wing. Tragic, unavoidable. But that was a lie. I knew it was a lie because I was there. We were working late, arguing. She had discovered what Thorn was really doing and was going to blow the whistle. Thorn had cornered her. He threatened her and me. I was a coward. I stood there, frozen in fear, as he triggered the lockdown, trapping her inside. I watched her through the reinforced glass as the decontamination cycle flooded the room. I did nothing. I ran, and I told everyone it was an accident. The guilt has been a physical weight, a sickness in my soul ever since. It was my scan. Scan ID 734 wasn't Lena's, but it was mine. They had scanned me a week after her death. The Raptors weren't imprinted with a ghost. They were imprinted with me, with my guilt. They weren't looking for a person. They were following the psychic trail of my own cowardice. Ben, the technician, he'd been the one who signed off on the faulty lockdown mechanism that Thorn used. He carried a piece of that guilt too. The Raptor recognized the echo of my secret in him. Tonight the storm is worse than ever. A category for hurricane. The power is flickering, and the fences are failing. Alarms are screaming across the compound, lost in the shriek of the wind. A message just flashed across the emergency system. Paddock 9 breached. Phantom Pack is out. They're not running wild. They're not randomly attacking. I know this with absolute certainty. They are moving with that same chilling purpose I've seen since the day they were born. But now, they have the whole island to search. Every corner, every shadow. The rain is washing away scents, confusing tracks, making it impossible for human trackers to find them. But they don't need scent. They have a map. Perfect, unwavering beacon to follow. The lights just went out. I'm in the central control room, the emergency power barely keeping the door locks engaged. I can hear them. It's not a roar, but something far more terrifying. It's a soft, rhythmic tapping of sickle claws on concrete, moving in perfect unison. They're methodical. They're patient. They're checking every building, every room, sniffing the air for that familiar echo of regret. They're not hunting a dinosaur. They're not hunting a human. They're hunting a secret. And I realize now, sitting here in the dark, with the sound of my own heart hammering in my ears, that this whole park, this billion-dollar monument to arrogance, wasn't built to contain dinosaurs. It was built to contain me. The storm outside is nothing compared to the one that's been raging inside me for the past year. The lights on the door panel just blinked from green to red. They're here. They've found the source. They've come to collect on a debt of guilt, and I am the only one left to pay. If this story got under your skin, like the video, subscribe to Bloody Chapter and tell me, what would you do if the hunt remembered you?